Hello guys, welcome to another session. In this session we are going to discuss about AWS Relational Database Service. So let's jump into the diagram and there we will discuss. So guys, AWS Relational Database Service is another kind of service which AWS offers. AWS RDS service makes it easier to set up, operate and scale a relational database in the AWS cloud. AWS RDS provides cost-efficient, resizable capacity for an industry-standard relational database and manages common database administration tasks. So you must be asking that why do we want a managed relational database service? So I will tell you it is because Amazon RDS takes over many of the difficult or tedious management tasks of a relational database. So to understand it better, let's understand the flow of the database management process. Generally, what we do when we want to set up a database environment, we buy a server. With server, we will get CPU, memory, storage along with IOPS. So managing these hardware is really very cumbersome task, and this is not related to a single server. Suppose in case if our application load is getting increased and we want another database server in place, then we also need to take care of scaling by our own. So here another complexity of scaling comes into picture. And with all these processes, there is a huge cost involved with hardware along with the maintenance cost, which is an overhead for any organization. But if we are opting with the Amazon RDS, these are split apart so that we can scale them independently. If we need more CPUs, less IOPS or more storage, we can easily allocate them with the help of Amazon RDS services. Amazon RDS manages backup, software patching, automatic failure detection and recovery. With Amazon RDS services, we can have automated backup performed when we need them, or we can manually create our own backup snapshot, and we can use these backups to restore a database in case of failure. Amazon RDS restore process works reliably and efficiently. Another point of motivation to use Amazon RDS service. With Amazon RDS service, we get high availability with the primary instance and a synchronous secondary instance that we can fail over to when problems occur. Now moving further, let's understand about the basic building block of Amazon RDS. That is DB instances. A DB instance is an isolated database environment in the AWS cloud. DB instance can contain multiple user databases. We can access our DB instance by using the same tools and applications that we use with a standalone database instance. We can create and modify a database instance by using the AWS command line interface, Amazon RDS API, or with the AWS management console. In the lab session of AWS RDS, we will use AWS Management Console to create the RDS services. So now let's look into the databases which is being supported by AWS RDS services. So these are the DB instances which is being supported by RDS. RDS support MySQL, MariaDB, Oracle, PostgreSQL and SQL Server. So these are the database engine which runs on DB instances. Each of these database engine has its own supported features, and each version of a DB engine may include specific features. Additionally, each DB engine has a set of parameters in a DB parameter group that control the behavior of databases that it manages. One question must be triggering in your mind that how about the computations and the memory capacity? Because each application has different level of computation and memory. How RDS can manage all this for different DB instances? So here I would like to tell you that AWS RDS service variety of DB instance classes. Basically, Amazon RDS supports three types of instance classes. That is standard, memory optimized and burstable performance. Now let's discuss about DB instance storage. DB instance storage comes in three types, that are magnetic, general purpose, SSD and provisioned IOPS. These storage types differs in performance characteristics and price. Each DB instance has minimum and max storage requirements depending on the storage type and the database engine it supports. But it is really important to have sufficient storage so that our database have room to grow. Sufficient storage makes sure that features for the DB engine have room to write content or log entries. Now let's move further and discuss about security. A security group controls the access to a DB instance, and it controls by allowing access to IP address, ranges or Amazon EC2 instances that you specify. Amazon RDS uses DB security groups, VPC security groups, and EC2 security groups. Here, a DB security group controls access to a DB instance that is not in a VPC. A VPC security group controls access to a DB instance inside a VPC. An EC2 security group controls access to an EC2 instance and can be used with a DB instance. Now moving further, let's discuss about monitoring of DB instances. Monitoring is an important part of maintaining the reliability, availability, and performance of Amazon RDS. Here I would like to give you some tips regarding monitoring, and this tips is not related only to the monitoring of RDS service. It is applicable to any of the resources of AWS. Whenever you start monitoring, you must create a monitoring plan that includes answers to these questions. And the questions are: what are your monitoring goals? What resources will you monitor? How often will you monitor these resources? What monitoring tool will you use? Who will perform the monitoring tasks? And who should be notified when something goes wrong? So these are the questions you should answer prior to setting up any of the monitoring of resources in your plan. The next step you can do in the monitoring setup is to establish a baseline for normal Amazon RDS performance in your environment by measuring performance at various times and under different load conditions. As you monitor Amazon RDS, you should consider a strong historical monitoring data. This stored data will give you a baseline to compare against with current performance data, identify normal performance pattern and performance anomalies, and provide methods to address issues. Generally acceptable values for performance matrices depends on what your baseline look like and what your application is doing. Investigate consistent or trending variance from your baseline. I would recommend that you should follow these matrices or set up these matrices to monitor your AWS DB instances, that is high CPU or RAM consumption, disk space consumption, network traffic, database connections, and IOPS matrices. Now enough of theory. So here I want to stop the session. In the next session we will do a lab on Amazon RDS where we will create a MySQL DB engine using Amazon RDS services. That is going to be a really fun exercise. So see you in the next session. Till then, bye bye, take care.